One Piece is one of the longest and most in-depth stories on the planet right now, which means it spawns some of the craziest anime arguments you've ever seen debated because you have years and years of evidence to sift through. You've got your Zoros versus your Sanjis, your Yonkos versus your Admirals, your Namis versus your Robins, but today I want to talk about possibly the most mysterious and open-ended argument One Piece has to offer, that being Shanks versus Mihawk. Now let me just set the record straight now, this video is not going to explore both sides of the story, and it is not going to give evidence for Mihawk's case. This is a defense for Shanks being stronger than Mihawk, without using your typical bullcrap excuses like Shanks is not a swordsman, or Mihawk painted his sword black. Yes, that's right, you heard me. I am a Shanks defender for this argument, but I'm going to get these out of the way now. Shanks is a swordsman, and Mihawk's title of the world's strongest swordsman is not fraudulent. That being said, how the hell can Shanks be stronger than Mihawk if both of those things are true? Well, you're going to want to watch this video, and I'll tell you. Now, I want to start here by taking a look at Mihawk's title. I said that the world's strongest swordsman title is not fraudulent, and I mean that, but to kind of understand where I'm coming from, we need to take a step back and look at titles in the One Piece world as a whole. I know this is hard for some people to grasp, but the titles that Oda gives characters are not actually given to them by Oda. It is the people of the One Piece world, the general populace, including the civilians, other pirates, and the Navy, that brand these titles onto other characters. Things like Whitebeard being the world's strongest man or Kaido being the world's strongest creature are not Oda telling us that these two are the strongest of their class. It is what the world perceives these characters as and what they are known as to the general populace of the One Piece planet. Now, this doesn't mean these titles are always incorrect. Like, I personally believe Whitebeard really was the world's strongest man at the time we found that title out. It just means we need to leave room for interpretation and understand that these titles can come from different places and be misleading based on certain factors. An example of this is how the man who gives people bounties claims that Buggy is a genius jester and the mastermind behind Cross Guild at the end of Wano. Ironically, this is also the same person that says that Mihawk has greater sword skills than Shanks, but that's besides the point. What matters here is that we know that Buggy is not a genius jester, nor is he the mastermind behind Cross Guild, but they still brand him as such and the public perceives him as that. So these things can be false despite what the pages say and what they tell you. This is why I don't think Mihawk's title as the world's strongest swordsman is fraudulent, because he technically is the world's strongest swordsman in the public's eye. That doesn't necessarily mean he is actually the strongest, but the title is not fraudulent because people in the One Piece world believe he is the strongest, and in my opinion, that validates his title. So where is this disconnect between the One Piece populace of the world and the One Piece readers of the world? Why do us One Piece fans think that Shanks is stronger than Mihawk, but people in the One Piece world know and believe that Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman? Well, in my opinion, this has to do with Shanks' portrayal as a character to the rest of the One Piece world compared to how we view him as the reader. For us, Shanks is the mentor figure. He's that one anime character that every anime has that's like the father figure to the main character and is overpoweredly strong and comes in to save the day at certain points, and it's always hype when they're on screen. But if you look through the lens of the One Piece populace, it's actually pretty interesting that Shanks comes across as relatively weak. The only real strong portrayal that Shanks really gets in the One Piece world is his bounty, and we know that that comes from the amount of territories he has and also his relation to a celestial dragon. When Oda introduces Shanks' Grand Fleet, he goes out of his way to show us how weak they are and how seemingly incompetent they are compared to the rest of his main crew. It's no surprise that the world might think he's weaker than Mihawk when he surrounds himself with people who shouldn't even be in the New World. Not to mention, 99% of the One Piece world, including the Navy, don't really understand that Shanks sacrificed his arm for the future for the potential prophecy of Joy Boy to come and bring the dawn. All they see is that Shanks is kinda washed up and lost his arm to a Sea King. It's very clearly stated that Shanks and Mihawk used to be rivals, and because their duels were legendary, I'm sure the rest of the One Piece world knows of them, so it only makes sense for the world to believe that Mihawk is stronger than him, when Shanks seemingly to the rest of the world is just a washed 40-year-old. Now, I've already mentioned some of it already, but when we flip the lens around and look at Shanks through the lens of the reader, the One Piece fans, it becomes very clear to us that he is not actually what the One Piece populace thinks he is, and he is much, much, much stronger than people make him out to be. When you look at Shanks narratively, it becomes extremely clear how strong he is. He is the mentor for the main character, the goal that Luffy is supposed to be surpassing, the next coming of Roger, and he has so much influence in the inner workings of the world that we see with his interactions with the Gorosei and also other pirates. He is just truly this mysterious man who knows and understands the world greater than any other person on the planet. Whereas Mihawk's narrative purpose is really only just to be stronger than Zoro. That's the only person he needs to be definitely stronger than, because that's his only purpose in the story, to be surpassed by Zoro, who is once again inferior to Luffy, and Luffy's goal here is to go past Shanks, become a greater pirate than Shanks. And if you're not one for narrative scaling like that, I'm not a fan of power scaling, but we can just look at their feats as well. I'm sure in the future we'll get more from Mihawk, but as of right now, all he's done is cut an iceberg in half, where Shanks one-shot Kid, a character who was able to beat Big Mom with good support and tank her attacks like it was nothing. And in the middle of doing so, he portrayed what is possibly the greatest observation and speed feat we have seen from any other character in the entire series. Now, perhaps the main argument for why everything I'm saying is untrue, from a writing and narrative standpoint, is that Shanks being stronger than Mihawk completely invalidates Zoro's dream. Zoro is supposed to be the world's strongest swordsman by the end of the series, so if he acclaims that title by destroying Mihawk, yet Shanks is still there as a stronger swordsman, it kind of throws away Zoro's entire purpose, and his dream isn't really achieved. Now, this is a good point, however, I have two counterpoints that I think completely invalidate this point. The first is that by the time Mihawk is defeated by Zoro, I don't think Shanks will be alive anymore, making Mihawk the de facto world's strongest swordsman, both in title and in actuality. I do believe Shanks is going to fall to Blackbeard in the end of the story, and I do think Zoro will defeat Mihawk after that, so Zoro will again be the world's strongest swordsman because Shanks will no longer be in the story. But if that feels like a cop-out to you because Zoro didn't get to defeat Shanks and he isn't really the world's strongest swordsman because we never got to see him fight against the actual world's strongest swordsman, then let me tell you this. What does it matter if Shanks or Mihawk is stronger for Zoro's dream if, no matter what, Zoro will be defeating someone stronger than the both of them by the end of the story? Now, in my opinion, there are three candidates for who will be Zoro's final opponent when Luffy takes down the world government, and that is Venus, Garling, or an adult-grown Mihawk Seraphim. I personally believe at full strength, all of these three candidates are probably more powerful than Shanks and Mihawk, so what does it matter if Zoro's dream is invalidated by Shanks being stronger than Mihawk if in the end of the day, he will beat someone stronger than both of them, becoming truly the world's strongest swordsman, not only in the present day, but to ever exist in the One Piece world, solidifying his name in the heavens like he promised to Kuina. And that's pretty much the meat of it. This is why I think Shanks is stronger than Mihawk. Now, if you disagree with me, I'm not going to call you stupid or even think you're stupid. I definitely think there is some arguments for Mihawk being stronger than Shanks. I also love both of these characters and think both of their roles in the story is going to be super awesome to see play out in the end. So, no hard feelings if you disagree with me. Let me know why in the comments. I'm going to try and make an effort to read all the arguments and maybe my mind will change. So, let me know what two characters you want me to talk about next, and until next time.